Today, we're very pleased to have Anthony Nantes, the CEO of Wisr Limited, to join us. ASX code WZR. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Anthony, you have won several awards in the past few years. Could you please introduce more about yourself to our readers?
Yes, thank you. And I'm very humbled to, have been awarded quite a number of awards over the last few years, including from Optus, the Business Leader of the Year in 2018 in Australia. In 2019, I was awarded the Highly Commended Executive of the Year by the CEO magazine across Australia. In 2020, I was recognised as the Outstanding FinTech Leader of the Year by Fintech Australia, which is the major body for fintechs in Australia. And in 2021, we've continued that with Wisr being recognised as one of the fastest growing technology companies in Australia, coming in, in the top group of companies across both recognition from Deloitte and by the AFR, the Australian Financial Review, as one of the fastest growing tech companies in Australia. But I think, aside from all those awards, I think a couple that I'm probably the most proud of is just recently Wisr was recognised as one of the best places to work in all of Australia. So we have a fantastic culture. It's very supportive of our employees. We were number 2 in that category across all banking and finance companies in Australia. So that's a tremendous award to receive. And it's all part of what we're building at Wisr, which is something really special in the tech space.
That's very impressive. For our readers who haven't got a chance to know about Wisr, could you please briefly introduce Wisr? Is there any special meaning behind the name of Wisr?
Yeah, I mean, Wisr as a brand is a very special company, and it's really about helping everyday Australians be wiser with their money. Everybody wants to make smart money decisions. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to be smarter with their money, whether they're a bus driver or a teacher or a professional or a banker. Everyone wants to be a little bit smarter. Everyone wants to be a little bit wiser with their money. And at Wisr, we really focus on helping everyday Australians be just that little bit smarter, that little bit wiser with their money. What we're building is really a very disruptive business model in the consumer lending space. Australia, for a long time, has been dominated by 4 major banks who have really done the vast majority of consumer lending. If you look at personal loans as a category that we currently play in, the big 4 banks in Australia were doing about 80% of all personal loans a few years ago. And so there's a really big chance to build a very disruptive business model by offering Australians a faster choice, a digital alternative that's really focused around helping them make a wiser decision.
Let us talk about the products of Wisr. So what type of loan does Wisr offer, and how does Wisr differentiate itself from the competitors?
Yeah, so we offer 2 types of loans. We do personal loans, much like the banks here in Australia. And the banks have done these loans for decades and decades, and they've been a very effective product in this market. We do personal loans that have an average loan size around about 30,000 Australian dollars. And those loans can be used either to purchase vehicles, cars, caravans, boats, motorbikes, or they can be used to purchase other things like holidays, maybe home renovations, a new kitchen, a new bathroom. They might be used to fund some medical, large medical expenses, or alternatively to consolidate other debts. So we might see customers who a few years ago took out a loan from one of the major banks, but actually didn't get a very good experience. And so they would move that loan to us. And now the real competitive advantage for us is a very digitized offering. So it's a fully digital experience. It's a experience that can be done in a matter of minutes. So an everyday Australian can go online, they can apply for a loan fully digitally, they can get a response within minutes and actually have the money in their account within an hour. And that's compared to the big 4 banks in Australia that still might take, a week or 2 to turn around a personal loan.
As you mentioned digital experience, could you please tell us more about Wisr's financial wellness platform? As many people are talking about financial wellness. So what's the function of the platform and who can use that platform?
Yeah, so alongside our digital lending platform, which is, one of the best, probably the best experience in Australia for taking out a personal loan, we've also built a financial wellness platform, which has tools, features, and services that consumers can opt into and actually helps them manage their debts. So we have a feature, for example, that uses a roundup feature that rounds up someone's spare change. So every time they buy a coffee for $3.50, we round it up to $4. We take 50 cents and we use that actually to pay off debt for them. So we help them make a sort of a wiser decision. So every time they spend money, every time they buy a sandwich for lunch or a bowl of noodle soup or a coffee, we round up whatever that difference is and we take that and we use it to pay off their debt a little bit faster. There's a whole range of other services, tools, and features we have on that platform. The platform's got over 500,000 Australians on it now. It's heading towards 1 million customers. And really, that's about us building something that looks a bit like a bank without actually having to be a bank. So, the banks are great at, building really big customer bases using their deposit and savings accounts, and then they lend money back to those customers. We're doing something similar, but without having to build out the savings deposit account. We're building this platform of features, tools, and products. We're engaging hundreds of thousands of Australians on it, and then we're using that channel to actually provide the opportunity to lend money where it's appropriate.
Can I please ask, how does the platform bring value to Wisr?
Yeah, it brings value in a whole number of ways. Firstly, it's a real differentiated model. So we're the only player in Australia that has anything like this, that has a lending business as strong as our lending engine, but also has a platform like this. So one of the things that we can do that brings value to consumers is we can say, after we lend you money, we're not just going to say goodbye and good luck. We're actually going to help you manage that loan across the next 3, 4, 5 years. And so you can use our platform to help manage that loan. You can use it to help pay it down a little bit faster. And so that's really big competitive advantage for us in market when we're trying to win a consumer to make a choice between going to an old traditional bank versus coming to something like Wisr, where they can have a really different experience. They can get something that's really digital and also have a platform that's actually going to support them paying off that loan over the next few years. In addition, we also have the ability to engage with customers much, much earlier in their life cycle. So rather than just trying to compete for them, say on Google or on search engines and trying to win customers that way, we're actually building an entire customer base who know us, who know the Wisr brand, who know the company, who already have our app in their pocket. And so they're already using our app every day. And so the fact that they're already using our app means when they go to the next moment when they need to borrow some money, they already have a relationship with us. So it's a much easier transition.
Thank you. Wisr's quarterly revenue increased 106% to 15.5 million compared to last year and achieved the second positive operating cash flow. What are the factors that drove the revenue growth?
Yeah, thanks for that. Look, there's a few key factors. One of the key ones is, as I said at the start, the Australian economy has been largely dominated by 4 major banks. And so what we're seeing is a real change in the Australian consumer who are used to a few years ago, if they wanted a loan, they'd go down to their local bank, they'd walk into the store and take out a loan. Now they're going online. And so we're just seeing this increased digitization of choice. We're seeing everyday Australians, their first point of call where they need to go and buy a new car or, put in a new kitchen or renovate their bathroom or have some need for a large size loan, we see them go online first. And so that move of digitization means that a player like Wisr, which is a fully digital operation, is really what's driving a lot of our revenue growth. We've written over $1 billion Australian worth of loans now. Wow. Over the last few years, we continue to grow and scale at an absolute rate of knots. So it's exciting times.
Can you please talk more about funding facilities at Wisr? As RBA just increased the cash rate last Tuesday, what impact it might bring to Wisr's business operation?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and I'm no macroeconomist, so I'm not going to try and predict where rates are going to go in the future. But what I can talk about is the impact on our business.
Yeah.
I mean, this particular rate change will have an immaterial impact on the Wisr business. But I think as we look forward over the next couple of years, as rates continue to increase, it's never been the case in the Australian market. In fact, in most markets globally, it's never really been the case that lenders have had to compress their margin. When base cash rates have gone up or central banking rates have gone up, the end rate to consumers that lenders typically lend at has also gone up. So as rates increase, we have the ability to increase our rates as well in line with that. Traditionally, the whole market will see a move up in rates. We typically see that quite quickly. As soon as the rates go up from the RBA, we typically see a very quick response in consumer lending rates going up as well. And so we can also do that. And by lifting up our rates, that protects our net interest margin, our NIM, and doesn't actually materially impact the business.
Wisr's midterm goal is to achieve a loan book 3 billion. How far are we now?
Yeah, look, I mean, we've provided some guidance to the market that says, in the next 12 months, we'll have a $1 billion loan book. And so that's a really great sort of first milestone on that journey towards a $3 billion loan book. It's certainly in the near term. So over the medium term, over that 2 to 3 year journey, as you say, the vision for us is to have a loan book around that $3 billion mark. That will be delivering a very profitable company for us. And a very big and impactful company. So it's a really nice near-term milestone. We're well on track to achieve that in the medium term. And I think the bigger opportunity for us is, we only have, if you look at the entire consumer lending market in Australia, we only have 2 products at the moment. We have an unsecured personal loan and a vehicle personal loan. And really, there's a whole range of other consumer lending products that we could look to expand into. Again, the markets where the banks have traditionally been very, very competitive and for decades have really been holding the majority of the market share in Australia. So I think as we start to now take significant market share from the banks in the personal loan category, that enables us to start looking at the next consumer lending product. So I think the next 2 to 3 years, you'll start to see Wisr expand out of its current product suite and really take the banks on as a one-stop shop for consumer finance.
Last question from me. What's your vision for Wisr in 3 years?
I think, and I've probably touched on this already a few times, there isn't really a clear alternative to the big 4 banks in Australia for most Australians. And so a really bold vision for us would be to be the clear alternative so that when every mum and dad or every young Australian or young professional or lawyer or doctor or dentist or school teacher thinks about their next need to finance something, that they think about the big 4 banks and they immediately think about Wisr as the next alternative. I think if we can achieve that, we're going to build a very, very, very big company that's going to have a lot of impact on this market.
Thanks, Anthony. Thank you so much for your time today. This is the end of the interview. We are looking forward to catching up with you again in the future.
Thanks for having me along.